What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Now, as you guys can see, I've moved out of my loft and I've gotten myself this temporary little place in the Plateau neighborhood of Montreal for the month of September. And speaking of temporary new lodging opportunities for the month of September, in this video, I wanted to talk about a brand new 25% transfer bonus that American Express Canada is offering when you convert membership rewards points to the Marriott Bonvoy Hotel Loyalty Program, and we'll also touch upon the similar 40% transfer bonus from American Express US over to Marriott Bonvoy as well. Are these transfer bonuses that we're seeing in September, and in the case of American Express Canada, the first ever transfer bonus between membership rewards and Marriott Bonvoy, worth taking advantage of? In what situation should you transfer points? In what situation should you avoid transfer points and keep it in membership rewards? And what are the best strategies for doing so? As always, if you enjoy these videos, give it a like and a subscribe just before the video starting to help out with the YouTube algorithm. And otherwise, without further unnecessary delay, or in other words, without further ado, let's get started. Let's begin this video with some of the key information about this 25% transfer bonus from American Express to Marriott Bonvoy, which is the first time we're seeing such a bonus here in Canada. Now, normally when you transfer your American Express membership rewards points to Marriott Bonvoy, the transfer ratio is 1 membership rewards points equals 1.2 Marriott Bonvoy points. Or in whole numbers, it's 5 membership rewards points equals 6 Marriott Bonvoy points. Or if you prefer to think about the minimum transfer amount of 1,000 membership rewards points, that's going to equal 1,200 Marriott Bonvoy points. Now, during the month of September, as long as you initiate your points transfer by September 30th, then these transfer ratios are actually going to get boosted by 25%. So it's going to be 1 membership rewards points equals 1.5 Marriott Bonvoy points, otherwise an effective ratio of 2 to 3, or if you think about the incremental chunk of 1,000 American Express points, that's going to be equal to 1,500 Marriott Bonvoy points. Now, from my perspective, this is a transfer ratio we've never seen before in Canada. It's a very exciting opportunity. The question that's going to be on everyone's minds is, if I have American Express membership rewards points, should I transfer all or some of them over to Marriott Bonvoy during the month of September because of this transfer bonus? And the answer to questions like that is almost always, it depends. It depends on your travel goals. It depends on your specific travel preferences between airlines and hotels. And so let's delve into all of the ways you should be thinking about whether or not you want to take advantage of this transfer bonus. There are a few layers to this discussion because it depends on what type of membership rewards points you hold and what your proposed use of Marriott Bonvoy points are, whether it's hotels or whether it's airline transfers. So let's peel back the layers a bit and talk about each of these possibilities one by one. Now, the first thing to consider is something that should be familiar to most of us, but in case it isn't, we should go over the differences between American Express membership rewards points and what we call membership rewards select points. If you hold the American Express Cobalt Card or the American Express Business Edge card, then these two cards will earn a special type of membership rewards points known as membership rewards select points. And it's actually a lower tier than the regular MR points, which will be earned if you have any of the other American Express cards, like the American Express Gold, the Platinum, the Business Gold, the Business Platinum, etc. The main difference between the regular MR points and the MR Select points is simply the fact that the regular MR points can be transferred to airline frequent flyer programs such as Aeroplan and British Airways Avios at a 1-to-1 ratio, or programs like Cathay Pacific Asia Miles or Delta Miles at a ratio of 1 to 0.75, whereas the MR Select points cannot be transferred to airlines and can only be transferred to hotel partners like Hilton Honors and, of course, Marriott Bonvoy at the ratio of 1 to 1.5 for the month of September. And so that's the key difference between regular MR points and MR Select points, and we can think about how that plays into the strategy with this 25% transfer bonus over to Marriott Bonvoy. Because with MR Select points, transferring to Marriott Bonvoy has always been one of the most valuable uses because you can't transfer these points over to airline frequent flyer programs instead. So now with the 25% transfer bonus, it's an excellent time to actually take advantage of this transfer possibility and move your points over to Marriott Bonvoy at the ratio of 1 to 1.5. In contrast, I would say that in general, on average, the regular MR points will deliver better value when you transfer them over to a frequent flyer program instead, like Aeroplan or British Airways Avios, especially if you then use these points to redeem for business class or first class flights at a much higher value than what you can usually get from a hotel redemption. And so for now, we'll mostly focus on the MR Select points from the Cobalt Card and the Business Edge card, and then we'll leave the regular MR points for a little later in this video when we talk about the possibilities of transferring to different airline programs through Marriott Bonvoy. So among the two products that earn MR Select points, the Cobalt Card and the Business Edge card, there's actually a subtle distinction between these two, so let's quickly touch upon each of them as well. Let's think about the Cobalt Card, which is Canada's most rewarding card on your day-to-day spending on the food and drinks category. So that includes groceries, that includes going out to eat and drink, cafes, restaurants, food delivery, whatever it is, it all earns you 5 MR Select points per dollar spent in one of these food and drinks categories. So if you think about the already excellent 5x earning rates on food and drinks and apply that against the 1 to 1.5 transfer ratio to Marriott Bonvoy during the month of September, then essentially what you're getting is a truly outstanding 7.5 Marriott Bonvoy points per dollar spent on food and drinks throughout this whole month. So a 7.5x earning rate is obviously extremely powerful. And if you think about, if you were to spend $1,000 this month as a household on groceries, going out to eat, and food delivery, then you will have already earned 7,500 Marriott Bonvoy points from that spending, which is already enough for a free night stay at a hotel somewhere in the world. So what this means is that September is obviously a great month to be maximizing your spending in this 5x category on the Cobalt Card. But in case you don't have the Cobalt Card right now, it's actually not going to be super helpful to sign up right now because of the way the Cobalt Card works. Its sign-up bonus of 30,000 MR Select points is only delivered at monthly intervals. So by the time September 30th rolls around and the promotion ends, you'll only have gotten a little bit of MR Select points from signing up for the card. In contrast, a better option might be to sign up for the American Express Business Edge card instead. The Business Edge card was introduced around late last year, and it hasn't really taken on a huge role in the whole American Express credit card portfolio. So if you haven't given it much thought until now, then September would be a great time to think about signing up if you can hit the minimum spending before the end of September and earn the full bonus of 40,000 membership rewards select points before transferring those points at a 1 to 1.5 ratio into Marriott Bonvoy. In fact, once you've met the spending threshold of $5,000, then you'll actually end up with at least 46,000 MR Select points in your account. And if you're to transfer these over to Marriott Bonvoy before September 30th, then you would end up with a very sizable chunk of 69,000 Marriott Bonvoy points, which is actually a higher bonus than what the Marriott Bonvoy credit cards themselves are offering at this moment. So these are kind of the best ways to think about these two credit cards in the MR Select family as it relates to this 25% transfer bonus to Marriott Bonvoy. Now the remaining question is, if you already have a pile of MR Select points from before, does it make sense to transfer some or all of them over to Marriott Bonvoy under this bonus? Now my answer to this is, if you have a firm plan for using Marriott Bonvoy points, if you already have your eye on a hotel or an airline transfer, then absolutely yes. Obviously it makes sense to take advantage of this time-sensitive bonus. But even if you don't have a firm plan to use Marriott Bonvoy points, even if you have general plans to redeem hotel points and airline miles over the next couple of years, then most likely it still makes sense to transfer your points over. And I say that because we have to ask ourselves, what is the next best alternative for using MR Select points if you weren't transferring it over to Marriott Bonvoy? And the answer to that is, you can either use it at a fixed rate of 1 cent per point, sort of the baseline rate against any travel purchase, or you can redeem it through the American Express Fixed Points Travel rewards chart for round-trip flights from Canada to other points in the world based on this geographic zonal chart. And in my view, neither of these options are quite as compelling as transferring over to Marriott Bonvoy at a ratio of 1 to 1.5. The baseline redemption option of 1 cent per point is flexible for sure, but the value is pretty low. It's only 1 cent per point, and I'm pretty confident that you'd be able to exceed that with a smart redemption of your Bonvoy points instead. On the other hand, the fixed points travel rewards looks quite flexible on the surface, but I personally find that there's quite a few restrictions on this redemption option that make it less appealing for booking my flights compared to using other frequent flyer programs like Aeroplan or British Airways Avios or Alaska Miles. You have to book round-trip flights departing from Canada. There's a maximum ticket price associated with every redemption, and if you go above that maximum, then the value isn't nearly as good. And there's the fact that you have to pay additional surcharges on many of these redemptions, including most of the flights between Canada and Europe. So those are some of the reasons that I don't find fixed points travel very appealing. On the other hand, it is, potentially more useful for traveling around North America to the Caribbean or Mexico or Hawaii without having to worry about award availability. So if you're the type of traveler that likes to focus on these sun destinations, then oftentimes you'll find value in the fixed points travel as well. All right, now let's switch gears a little bit and talk about once you've transferred over the points to Marriott Bonvoy, what you then redeem these Marriott Bonvoy points for. Now the obvious answer is hotels, Marriott Bonvoy hotels. And whenever you're making a Marriott redemption, you should always look at the number of points it's going to cost, compare that against the cash price, and only redeem your points for hotels when you're getting about 0.9 Canadian cents per point, or ideally 1 Canadian cent per point in value for your points. Many moons ago, the Marriott program and the Starwood program used to have so much value in them that it would make sense to almost redeem your points for any hotel that you were going to stay at. But after a series of devaluations to the program, nowadays it's tougher to extract value given the high price points they sometimes charge for hotels. So my strategy these days is to pay cash for most of my hotels and try to minimize my out-of-pocket spending and maximize the number of points I earn when I pay cash for a hotel to really save up my Marriott Bonvoy points balance for those truly epic redemptions that you can only really book with points that would otherwise cost you a huge amount in cash, such as Maldives, such as Bora Bora, such as the desert resort in Dubai, such as luxury city hotels in major cities around the world. Depending on your travel preferences, there's always opportunities to have good value with your Marriott Bonvoy points, but you do have to be selective about where you redeem them. Now, despite the fact that I personally prefer to redeem my Bonvoy points on hotels, there are still many travelers out there who might not value hotels quite as highly, who might prefer to stay in Airbnbs or vacation rentals or hostels when they travel. And so they might prefer to transfer their Bonvoy points to one of 40 plus airline frequent flyer partners instead and get value out of their points that way. Now, the optimal way to transfer your hotel points to airlines is to transfer them in chunks of 60,000 Marriott Bonvoy points, because whenever you transfer in chunks of 60,000, you get a little bonus from Marriott, and you end up with 25,000 airline miles in the program of your choosing. So there are a few different ways that you could leverage this. One of them is to essentially use Marriott Bonvoy as a funnel to move your MR Select points from American Express over to a frequent flyer program like Aeroplan, even though you can't convert them directly to Aeroplan, unlike the regular MR points. Now, under this 25% transfer bonus, the value proposition in this strategy gets a little better. You can transfer 40,000 MR Select points over to 60,000 Marriott Bonvoy points, and then make these 25,000 Aeroplan miles. And so the overall ratio here is 8 to 5. 40,000 MR Select points become 25,000 Aeroplan miles. And in fact, you could potentially do even better than this if you transfer your points over to Marriott Bonvoy in the month of September, and then wait a little while to see if Aeroplan or your preferred frequent flyer program offers another bonus for transferring points from hotel partners over to that airline frequent flyer program. Aeroplan puts on promotions about twice per year for 30% or 35% for transferring points from hotel partners over into Aeroplan miles. And so if you moved the points over to Marriott Bonvoy and waited for one of those promotions to come around, then you could end up with even more Aeroplan miles as a result from your initial transfer of 40,000 MR Select points. Now, in addition to the programs that we're familiar with, like Aeroplan or Avios or Alaska, the other possibility here is to transfer your Bonvoy points over to one of the more niche airline frequent flyer programs out there. such as Korean Air Sky Pass or Japan Airlines Mileage Bank or Asiana Club, or some of these programs, global frequent flyer programs that are hard to earn with credit card points in Canada and the US otherwise. A lot of these programs have their own unique sweet spots, and the difficulty is in actually earning enough miles in these programs in the first place. So if you have your eye on one of these sweet spots, like redeeming Korean Air miles on Korean Air First Class, or redeeming Japan Airlines miles on Emirates First Class, then you can consider transferring over your MR Select points, or even your regular MR points, which otherwise can't be transferred to these niche partners, into Marriott Bonvoy, and then into these airline frequent flyer programs at that optimal ratio of 40,000 MR points equals 60,000 Bonvoy points equals 25,000 airline miles. All right, so I think we've done a pretty good job of covering the major strategies for this 25% transfer bonus on the Canadian side. Now let's have a few words for our American friends. You guys have a transfer bonus of 40% from the American Express US Membership Rewards Program over to Marriott Bonvoy as well. However, even though the 40% transfer bonus seems higher than the 25% transfer bonus we have here in Canada, I actually think it's a weaker value proposition, and I personally wouldn't be transferring my Amex US points over to Bonvoy even under this bonus. To understand why, think about the underlying transfer ratio from American Express US over to Marriott Bonvoy. Unlike here in Canada, where we have an underlying ratio of 1 to 1.2, the underlying ratio in the States is actually a flat 1 to 1 transfer ratio. So 1 American Express US point equals 1 Marriott Bonvoy point. And so even after adding the 40% bonus in there, you actually only get a transfer ratio of 1 to 1.4, or 1,000 MR points in the States equals 1,400 Marriott Bonvoy points. Now that ratio alone is okay. It's not outstanding, it's not bad either. But the reason I think that the US offer is relatively weaker than the Canadian one is because the US MR points themselves are so much stronger and so much more valuable in the first place. Remember when we were talking about the niche frequent flyer programs that you can transfer your Bonvoy points to? Well, the US MR points already has 21 transfer partners, including some really powerful programs like Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer or Virgin Atlantic Flying Club or the ANA Mileage Club. So because the US MR points are so much more powerful in the first place, with so many more transfer possibilities in terms of high-value airline partners, I'd be much more reluctant to transfer them over to Marriott Bonvoy compared to the Canadian MR points, which in comparison have a relatively smaller pool of transfer possibilities. Of course, if you're like me and you have cards on both sides of the border and you want to use your American Express US points for Marriott Bonvoy, then a smarter way of doing it would actually be to transfer your US MR points over to Canadian MR points as a first step at the prevailing exchange rate of 1 to about 1.33, and then transferring your Canadian MR points to Marriott Bonvoy at this effective rate of 1 to 1.5, and your total transfer rate is going to be a much stronger 1 to 2 from US MR points to Marriott Bonvoy. We've done a video on how Canadians can get American credit cards. Maybe one day we'll do a video on how Americans can get Canadian credit cards so that you Americans out there can also benefit from these little opportunities that crop up sometimes. Anyway, that's where I'm going to end today's video. I hope it's been helpful in making sense of this 25% transfer bonus that we're seeing from American Express Canada to Marriott Bonvoy, which is the first of its kind, as well as the 40% transfer ratio from American Express US over to Marriott Bonvoy as well. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the Prince of Travel YouTube channel. Just click the subscribe button below the video. We're actually getting very, very close to that 10,000 subscriber milestone on YouTube, which is something that I'm personally very excited about. So go ahead and click subscribe if you haven't already, and you might just be our lucky 10,000th. Anyway, also leave a comment below to let me know what you make of this 25% transfer bonus from American Express to Marriott Bonvoy. Are you going to take advantage of it and transfer over your MR Select points or even your regular MR points? And what are your plans for the Marriott Bonvoy points that you earn as a result? I'll see you soon in the next video. A lot of these programs have... What is it, Jesse? Jesse, you made noise!